I can heal your eyes. The little girl's voice rang out, small but sharp as a blade slicing through the steady patter of rain at Gasworks Park, Seattle. I want you to know the truth about your daughter, the truth she is hiding. Alexander Hale, the blind millionaire, froze on the damp wooden bench. His hands gripped his cane tightly, breath heavy, trembling fingers brushing against the cold engagement ring on his ring finger. His daughter, Victoria, his fiancée, had just left the bench, the sound of her high heels fading towards Lake Union. Yet the girl's whisper, calling herself Maya, still echoed, like the alarm bell in the silent penthouse he called home. Before we begin, let us know where you're listening to this story: Seattle, New York, or somewhere else in the world. And when it ends, don't forget to rate the story from 0 to 10. Let's begin. Seattle rain, light but persistent, soaked into Alexander's wool coat, carrying the scent of wet grass and loamy earth. He tilted his head, trying to see the girl through sound. Her footsteps were as light as rustling dry leaves, her breath steady but urgent, as if she had just run from some hidden corner of the park. "What did you say?" he asked, his voice deep, almost a whisper, afraid Victoria might hear from afar. "I said, I can heal your eyes," Maya repeated, sure and unwavering. Her voice, clear as wind chimes, carried a strange sincerity. "Not with medicine or surgery, but by helping you see what she's hiding from you. She knows your daughter, Emily, and she doesn't want you to know the truth." Alexander let out a bitter, sardonic laugh. "Little girl, I've tried everything. The best doctors, the most expensive technology from my own Hale Tech. No one can fix these eyes." He tapped his cane lightly on the stone pavement, the sound melding with the rhythm of rain. "And now you say I have a daughter?" "I have no child." "You don't know that you do," Maya replied, voice lowering as if revealing a world-shattering secret. "I heard her, Victoria, on the phone by the fountain last week. She mentioned Emily, about 20 years old, working at the Rainy Brew coffee shop. She said if you found out about Emily, all her plans would fall apart." Alexander felt his chest tighten. His breathing became heavier, as if Seattle's damp air was pressing down on his shoulders. Victoria, the sharp-witted CFO of Hale Tech, the woman he planned to marry in 3 months, always gently led him to this park, every morning. But the secretive calls, the times she left him on the bench to handle business, now they pieced together like fragments of a painting he didn't want to see. "Why are you telling me this?" Alexander asked, tightening his grip on the cane, feeling the worn paint beneath his calloused fingers. Maya was silent for a moment, then whispered, "Because I see you in the rain, sitting here every day, like you're waiting for something. Can sense you're losing the light, not just in your eyes." She paused, the rain drowning out the silence. "I live nearby, sell paintings at the community market. I don't want anything from you, just for you to know the truth." A soft chuckle escaped Alexander, gentle yet surprising. "Little girl, you talk as if you can read my mind. This morning's coffee was so bad I wondered if Victoria put poison in it." Maya giggled, the sound like a rare ray of sunshine piercing Seattle clouds. "Rainy Brew coffee is good. You should try Emily's." She paused, her tone growing more serious. "I'll come back tomorrow. Same time. But be careful. Victoria's watching you." Her footsteps faded, blending with the rain. Alexander sat motionless, his finger touching the engagement ring, cold as the secret just revealed. Victoria returned, her Chanel perfume wafting in before the click of her heels. "Ready to go, darling?" Her voice was sweet, but this time Alexander heard another undertone, like the creak of floorboards in the penthouse he once called home. He nodded, standing up, cane tapping a steady rhythm, but in his mind, Maya's words still echoed. Who is Emily, and why doesn't Victoria want him to know? The penthouse door lock clicked, and Alexander stepped in, his cane tapping steadily on the cold marble floor. Victoria walked ahead, her high heels echoing like hurried heartbeats in his chest. Are you tired, my love? The rain soaked me today, she said, her voice sweet. But Alexander heard a brief pause, as if a breath was being held back. He leaned the cane against the wall, his hand trembling as he touched the kitchen counter, where his morning coffee cup still sat, cold and bitter. Victoria moved around the room. The fridge door opened. Water flowed softly from the faucet. Shall I make some tea? Sit down. Let me take care of it. Alexander nodded, sitting down on the soft leather sofa, feeling the dampness from the rain still on his coat. His hand clenched unconsciously, as if trying to hold on to Maya's whispered words in the rain. Victoria brought the tea, setting the tray down with a gentle ting as the spoon touched the cup. Drink, darling. It will warm you up. He lifted the cup, warmth spreading through his palm, but the tea tasted bland, as if something was missing. Alexander took a sip, bitterness spreading across his tongue. At the park today, did you hear anything strange? He asked, his voice calm but his heart pounding. Victoria paused. The sofa creaked as she sat down beside him. Strange? Just the rain. What's wrong, love? He put the cup down, his hand brushing hers, feeling her smooth but cold skin. It's nothing. It's just, I think you had more phone calls than usual. Victoria laughed softly, a sound like wind rustling through the curtains. Just Hale Tech business, honey. The board is worried about this quarter. Don't trouble yourself. But Alexander could sense, through the silences, a vague tension, like a violin string trembling. The next morning, Seattle's rain still fell, but softer, like whispers instead of shouts. Alexander woke up early. The penthouse was quiet except for the sounds of Victoria in the kitchen. He put on his coat, grabbed his cane, and said, "Today, I want to go to the park alone. Miguel can drive me." Victoria's hand stopped. The sound of a knife slicing fruit halted abruptly. "Alone? Are you sure? I worry you'll fall again like last time." Alexander smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm fine. I need space to think." The car stopped at Gasworks Park. The door opened, and the wind brought the scent of lake water and wet grass. Alexander stepped out, his cane tapping rhythmically on the gravel path. He sat on their familiar bench, feeling raindrops scatter across his face. Light footsteps approached, rustling like fallen leaves. Maya sat down next to him, her breathing calm, carrying the scent of damp sketch paper from her backpack. "You're back," she said, cheerful but odd, as if talking to an invisible friend. Alexander nodded, gripping his cane tightly. "Kid, you mentioned Emily. Tell me." Maya was silent for a while, the wind across Lake Union filling the gap. "I heard Victoria talking to someone on the phone. She said Emily was a big problem because she has rights to Hale Tech. Victoria's faking a psych report to get you out, then hiding Emily so no one knows she's your daughter." Alexander felt his breath grow heavy, his hand trembling as he touched the wooden bench, feeling the rough grain under his fingers. "How do you know?" he asked, his voice low. Maya laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes. "I have a special gift. I can feel emotions like reading an open book, and I eavesdrop since I sell paintings nearby. Victoria thinks I'm just a stray kid." Alexander let out a dry chuckle, an unexpected smile. "Seattle's coffee is bitter. Maybe she's poisoning it so I won't think too much." Maya giggled. "Poison? No, but she is being toxic to you. I saw her moving money offshore through calls. She wants all the control when you're gone." Alexander breathed deeply. The scent of rain and the lake filled his lungs. He felt a stillness, as if the world stopped. "Do you really want to help me?" Maya nodded, though he couldn't see her. "Because I see your sadness, like a lost inner light. I want you to get it back." She took a round pebble from her backpack and placed it in his hand. "Keep this. It's from Lake Union, to help you hold on to hope." He squeezed the stone, feeling its rough surface warming in his palm. Maya's words cut deep, like a final line engraved. But where is Emily? And why is Victoria hiding her? The wind swept across Lake Union, carrying with it the salty, damp chill of Seattle, whispering in Alexander Hale's ear. He walked slowly along the gravel path of Gasworks Park, his cane tapping a steady rhythm, each thud blending with the rustle of dry leaves beneath his feet. The Maya pebble she gave him still lay in his coat pocket, its rough surface gradually warming to his touch, a constant reminder of secrets beginning to unfold. Who is Emily? And why doesn't Victoria want him to know? The question gnawed deep in his mind, like persistent rain seeping through wool, weighing heavy on his chest. He tried to focus on the sounds around him, the distant cries of seagulls, the gentle lapping of waves against the shore, the musky smell of damp earth. But everything felt hazy. Only Maya's strange voice echoing like an unfinished melody. He had come here alone today, having asked Miguel, his driver, to bring him without Victoria. "Need space to think," he had told him. But the truth was he wanted to meet Maya, to learn more about his daughter that the girl mentioned. Suddenly his foot caught on a tree root jutting out from the path. He lost his balance, tumbling forward. His cane flew out of his grasp, clattering dryly against rocks. His elbow slammed into the ground, a sharp crack ringing out, pain sparking through his body like an electric shock. He panted heavily, lungs shuddering as if squeezed, his trembling hand touching the damp earth, feeling the crisp leaves under his palm. Warm blood trickled from the scrape on his elbow, mixing with the ground, the scent of metal mingling with the smell of mulch. Shame flushed through him, greater than the pain. He, Alexander Hale, who once ran Hale Tech with an iron hand, now lay here, helpless in the drizzle. Footsteps approached, soft as wind through grass. Maya knelt beside him, her breathing quick, yet composed. "Are you okay? Don't move yet." Her voice sounded, worried but certain, oddly sincere. Her small hand pressed his arm, warmth seeping through his sleeve, like a little stream washing away the Seattle chill. I'm fine, just tripped," he muttered, voice trembling, trying to hide his embarrassment. But the pain gnawed at him, and he felt the blood soaking through his sleeve, warm and sticky. Maya rummaged in her backpack, the sound of fabric rustling, then produced an old handkerchief, frayed at the edges, and pressed it to the wound. "Did you trip because you missed the route, or because you're thinking about Emily?" she asked, her voice odd, half joking, half serious, as if talking to an invisible friend. Alexander let out a soft laugh, surprising himself. "Maybe it was the lousy coffee this morning. Threw off my balance." Maya giggled, her laughter like wind chimes in the rain, gentle but full of life. "Bad coffee. Emily makes great coffee. You should try Rainy Brew, but right now, you need bandaging. If Victoria finds out you fell, she'll use it as proof. Say you're unstable." Alexander tensed, his breathing heavier, as if Seattle's air was pressing on his chest. His hand touched the handkerchief, feeling the coarse fabric soak up his blood, the smell of metal mingling with the mist. "Proof? How do you know?" he whispered, voice low, fearing Miguel in the car might overhear. Maya was silent for a moment, the patter of rain on leaves filling the void. "I sense things," she said, her voice strange but confident. "I have a special ability, to read feelings. Last week I overheard Victoria near the fountain on the phone with a lawyer. She said you can't take care of yourself. and that your previous fall is evidence for the Hale Tech board to see you as weak. She wants the CFO seat forever, and is hiding Emily so no one can challenge the inheritance. He breathed in deeply, the scent of earth and lake filling his lungs, but his mind was spinning. Victoria, the woman he planned to marry, who guided him gently through dark days after his accident, now using his helplessness as a weapon. You said Emily is my daughter. To whom? He asked, his voice cracking, afraid the answer would rip open an old wound. Maya helped him up, the cane clicking as she picked it up and placed it in his hand. To Clara, your old college girlfriend, she said slowly, like reciting a fairy tale. Lillian, my mom, wrote in her letters. Clara gave Emily to my mom to raise, afraid the Hale family would force you to abandon her. Lillian hid Emily to protect her, so she could have a normal life, away from the inheritance battle. Alexander gripped his cane, knuckles whitening, his breaths as heavy as the strengthening rain. Clara. The name stabbed him sharply, reopening a 20-year-old cut. In college, he and Clara were passionately in love, evenings by Lake Washington, her laughter like rare sunshine in Seattle. But his parents, founders of Hale Tech, made him choose his career, and Clara disappeared without a word. Now Emily, his daughter, a 20-year-old woman working at Rainy Brew, whom he never knew existed. His chest tightened, as if the pebble in his pocket pressed on his heart. Lillian, he whispered, voice breaking like a lost child. Lillian, his sister who used to hug him through stormy nights when their parents argued about Hale Tech, who taught him to tie his shoes at age 7. But 15 years ago, after an inheritance dispute, Lillian left and cut off all contact. He'd hired investigators from Seattle to Portland, but every trace vanished like rain into the lake. Where is she, Maya? He asked, choking, gripping the blood-stained handkerchief as if clinging to a memory. Maya shook her head, her backpack rustling as she sat beside him on the damp bench. My mom passed 3 years ago. Cancer, she said, her voice low but steady, as if all too familiar with pain. Emily and I lived together until then. Now she's independent, working at Rainy Brew, cares for me, sends money for art supplies. But I like freedom. Selling paintings at the community market, income isn't steady, so I wander parks to sense people. She giggled again, odd as if talking to an invisible friend. That's just me. But I know my mom loved Emily, like she loved me. She kept the secret to protect her. The Hales were too harsh. Alexander felt a stillness, as if the world had stopped breathing. The rain on Lake Union sounded like whispered memories he'd tried to bury. Lillian, his sister who once sang him to sleep, had raised his daughter as her own, fulfilling a promise to Clara. And now she was gone, leaving Maya, his niece, a quirky but sincere 12-year-old, with an uncanny sense for people's inner light. He touched the pebble in his pocket, feeling it warm, as if carrying Lillian's warmth from long ago. You are my niece? He asked, voice trembling, tears sliding down his cheeks, blending with the rain. Maya nodded, though he couldn't see. I found Mom's letters in the backpack after she died. She wrote about you, Emily, Hale Tech. Said you cared for her but couldn't find her because she changed her name. I didn't know who you were until I saw you at the park, looking as if you'd lost your inner light. She paused. The rain filled the silence. I want to help you because I see Mom in you, a person trying to hold on to hope as everything falls apart. Alexander bowed his head, gripping the pebble, his breath shaky. Lillian was gone, but she'd left him Maya, and Emily, his own daughter, someone he never knew existed. He remembered nights when Lillian told him fairy tales, her voice gentle as Seattle rain. And now she was gone, carrying the biggest secret. He cried, not for his elbow, but from the pain of a broken family and the faint hope now kindling. "Do you know where Emily is?" he asked, voice choked, pleading for a chance to make amends. Maya gently touched his hand, her warmth a small flame in the cold rain. "She's at Rainy Brew, making coffee every day. But Victoria knows about her, and she's making a fake report to remove you from Hale Tech. If she finds out you fell, she'll tell the board you're unfit to lead." Alexander's heart pounded like surging rain. He thought of Miguel, the driver, who might accidentally mention the fall to Victoria. "You're right," he whispered. "I have to be careful." Maya rummaged again, the sound of paper. Then she took out a broken pencil and doodled on the handkerchief. "I'm weird, you know. I draw feelings, not images. Here, you're a dim light, but it's getting brighter." She smiled, a rare sunshine breaking through the clouds. Alexander laughed, surprised. "Girl, you make me suspect you're putting magic in Emily's coffee." Maya giggled. "No, but I know someone. Harlan, a former financial investigator. He can help find evidence of Victoria's offshore transfers. I'll take you to meet him." Alexander nodded, the pebble in his pocket feeling heavier, carrying Lillian, Emily, and new hope. He stood up, leaning on his cane, its steady tapping echoing. Maya's words lingered like a closing line. Harlan could help expose Victoria. But would Emily be ready to meet the father she never knew? And where would this secret lead him? Seattle rain fell steadily on the penthouse roof, like an overture to secrets gradually coming to light. Alexander Hale sat in the living room, his cane leaning against the sofa, the pebble from Maya still warm in his palm. His breath was heavy, his chest weighed down by memories of Clara, Lillian, and Emily, his daughter, whom he never knew existed. The clock on the wall ticked, blending with the sounds of Victoria moving in the kitchen, the sharp clicks of a knife slicing fruit. "Do you want an apple, darling?" Her voice sweet, but Alexander heard a false note, like the creak of old wooden floorboards. He shook his head, fingers tightening around the pebble, feeling its rough surface as if it carried Lillian's warmth. "No, thank you." "Do you have a board meeting today?" he asked, voice steady, though his heart raced like the rain outside. Victoria stopped cutting, the knife went silent, and a brief pause passed, like a held breath. "Just the usual meeting," she replied, her tone gentle but sharp, like a freshly honed blade. "Don't worry, I can handle it." She set the plate of apples on the table, the light clink of the plate on glass, then walked out of the room, the sound of her heels fading down the hallway. Alexander sat still, his trembling fingers touching the pebble, as if trying to hold on to the fragile hope Maya had sparked. Harlan might help him expose Victoria, but was Emily ready to meet the father she never knew? He thought of his fall at Gasworks Park that morning, the scrape on his arm still stinging. But the greater pain came from his heart, discovering Emily, but losing Lillian forever. He needed to find Harlan, whom Maya said had investigated finances before, to expose Victoria's offshore money transfers. The next morning, the rain was lighter, but Seattle's air remained cold, like the whisper of secrets. Alexander asked Miguel to drive him to the park early, avoiding Victoria. "Don't tell her, Miguel," he instructed, voice low, hand gripping his cane tightly. Miguel nodded, the car door closing with a thud, carrying the scent of gasoline mixed with wet grass. Alexander walked down the gravel path, cane tapping, feeling the Lake Union breeze on his face, accompanied by the gentle sound of waves. He sat on a familiar bench, breathing steady, though his chest felt as tight as a string. Light footsteps rustled like dry leaves. Then Maya sat beside him, the fabric of her backpack softly rustling. "You're earlier than me," she said, her voice strange, as if talking to an invisible friend. Alexander chuckled, surprised by her cheerfulness. "You girl, you make me suspect you put magic in the Rainy Brew coffee." Maya giggled, her laughter like wind chimes in the rain. No, but I draw magic. Yesterday I drew you, a faint aura, but it was brightening. She rummaged in her backpack, the sound of paper rustling, then placed a sheet in his hand. Feel it. It's not a painting, but an emotion. Alexander felt the paper, the rough lines of pencil like a map of the soul. You're really strange, he said warmly, though his heart sped up thinking about Emily. Where's Harlan, Maya? You said he could help me. Maya nodded, though he couldn't see. He's nearby. Used to work for people like Victoria, finding dark secrets. I met him at the community market while selling my art. He saw my drawings of inner light and trusted me. Heavy footsteps approached, not as light as Maya's, but steady, like old leather shoes on gravel. You're Alexander Hale? A deep, husky voice rose, carrying a hint of tobacco. Alexander nodded, hand gripping the cane. Harlan? The man sat down, the bench creaking under his weight. Maya says you need help. I used to work for people like your fiancé, CFOs, smart but toxic. I know how they hide things. Alexander inhaled deeply, the sense of rain and tobacco mingling, his chest tense. Maya says Victoria's transferring money offshore. She's doing fake reports to oust me from Hale Tech. Can you find evidence? Harlan was silent. The click of a lighter sounded, and the scent of smoke drifted over. I did a preliminary investigation. Victoria's been sending money through shell accounts in the Caymans. Small but steady, since you went blind. She's working with a lawyer, Carl, who specializes in corporate fraud. They're building a case that you're mentally unstable, so the board will vote you out. Alexander felt blood rush to his head, shaky hands brushing Maya's paper, trying to remain calm. Is she doing this because of Emily? He asked, voice low, thinking of the daughter he'd never met. Harlan snorted, the sound of exhaled smoke blending with the wind. Emily is a big risk. Under Washington law, she's entitled to inherit Hale Tech, unless excluded by will. Victoria knew this from Lillian's old documents, so she's hiding Emily to control the assets after the marriage. Maya chimed in, her voice strange. She's scared of Emily. She makes great coffee, but her inner light is strong, like yours. Alexander laughed, the tension easing. Girl, you make me want to try Emily's coffee right away. Harlan grunted, but his tone softened. This girl's strange, but she's right. I have a recording of one of Victoria's calls discussing the money transfers. You'll need a lawyer to use it. I know Elena, a specialist in corporate warfare. She can help you file against Victoria. Alexander nodded, the pebble in his pocket seeming heavier, carrying both Lillian and Emily with it. I'll meet Elena. But what should I do about Emily? He asked, choked, thinking of the 20-year-old barista at Rainy Brew, not knowing he's her father. Maya touched his hand, her warmth like a small flame. She's kind, like Lillian, but she doesn't know who you are. You need to go to Rainy Brew, sense her first. Harlan stood up, the bench creaked again. Be careful, Hale. Victoria is watching you through Miguel. Don't let her know you suspect anything. He walked away, the sound of leather shoes fading into the rain. Maya whispered, You'll meet Harlan and Elena tomorrow. But now, keep your inner light, like Mother Lillian wanted. She drew another line on the paper, the scratch like a promise. Alexander sat, the sound of rain falling on Lake Union whispering memories of Clara, Lillian and Emily. Maya's words echoed like a final line. He will find Emily at Rainy Brew, but will Victoria let him get close to his daughter? Or will her scheme be exposed soon? Seattle rain fell quietly against the penthouse window. As if whispering secrets Alexander Hale no longer wished to hide. He sat in the living room, his cane propped against the sofa, Maya's pebble warm in his palm. His breath was heavy, his chest weighed down by memories of Clara, Lillian and Emily, the daughter he had never met. The sounds of Victoria moving in the study echoed through the apartment, the sharp staccato of typing, like the heartbeat of a plan taking form. "Do you need anything, dear?" She called from afar, her voice sweet but sharp, like a blade hidden beneath silk. Alexander squeezed the stone, feeling its rough surface as if it carried Lillian's warmth. "No, just wanted to talk," he replied, voice calm, though his heart raced like the rain outside. Victoria entered, the click of her high heels on marble stopping before the sofa. "Talk? It's rare for you to initiate." She sat, the rustle of her clothes and a hint of Chanel perfume in the air. But Alexander sensed a pause, a tension, like a held breath. "Have you ever mentioned Rainy Brew?" he asked, fingers brushing the sofa's cool leather. "The cafe near the park. I've heard it's really good." Victoria was silent for a moment, her chair creaking as she leaned in. "Rainy Brew? I don't usually go out for coffee." "Why?" Her tone was light, but he heard a false note, like the creak of old wood floors. "It's just... Miguel mentioned it. I wanted to try something new," he said evenly, though his heart pounded, thinking of Emily, his daughter, working as a barista there. Victoria chuckled softly, a sound like wind rustling curtains. "Miguel? He only knows truck stop coffee. But if you'd like, I'll ask him to drive you there." Alexander nodded, tightening his grip on the stone, sensing danger lurking. Harlan had warned him. Victoria was monitoring him through Miguel. But was Miguel loyal? Or had Victoria coerced him? He needed the truth before he went to Rainy Brew to see Emily. The next morning, the rain had lessened, but the Seattle air remained bitterly cold. Alexander asked Miguel to drive him to Gasworks Park, his tone low. "Don't tell Victoria, Miguel. Just going for a walk." Miguel nodded, the car door shutting with a thud, gasoline mixing with the scent of wet grass. "Of course, Mr. Hale," Miguel said, though his voice trembled as if he was worried about something. Alexander sat on a park bench, tapping his cane, feeling the lake breeze brush his face, carrying the sound of gentle waves. Footsteps rustled, and Maya sat down, her backpack crinkling. "You're earlier than me," she said, her voice odd, as if conversing with her inner light. Alexander gave a gentle laugh. "Girl, you're making me think you put magic in the Rainy Brew coffee." Maya giggled, her laughter like wind chimes. "No, but I draw magic. Yesterday I drew you. The light is brighter now." She touched his arm, warmth spreading like a small flame in the rain. "I can sense Miguel. He's loyal. But Victoria threatened him. Threatened to fire him, to make things hard on his family in Seattle." Alexander tensed, his breath heavy. "Threatened? How do you know?" Maya laughed, her voice strange. "I see his emotions. Worried, like light clouded over. Yesterday at the market I overheard him on the phone, apologizing to his wife for being late because Miss Victoria asked for a report on everything." Alexander gripped his cane, knuckles white. "So Miguel hasn't betrayed me?" Maya shook her head. "No, he's scared. Ask him, but gently, like Mother Lillian taught me." Alexander nodded, the pebble heavier in his hand. He took a small recorder from his pocket, hiding it in his sleeve. "I'll record Victoria. Harlan says he has the offshore transfer file, but I need more evidence of the fake report." Maya nodded, papers rustling as she doodled. "Be careful. Victoria knows you're suspicious. Her light is getting dimmer, like clouds covering the rain." Back at the penthouse, Alexander called Victoria into the living room. "I want to talk about Hale Tech," he said, calm, discreetly turning on the recorder. The sharp clicks of her heels approached. She sat down. "Hale Tech. You rarely ask about work." He breathed in deeply, her perfume a reminder of betrayal. "I heard the board is worried about my health. Is that true?" Victoria was silent, the sofa creaking. "Who told you?" "Miguel," she asked sharply. "No, just a rumor." I want the truth, Victoria. Victoria laughed dryly. Don't worry, I'm protecting you. The board just wants you to rest after your fall. Alexander felt his blood rush, squeezing the pebble. Rest or mental instability, like the report you're prepping? Victoria froze, her breath short. What are you talking about? Who told you that nonsense? He smirked. Someone who can see inner light. You don't need to know. Victoria stood abruptly, her shoes thudding. You're tired. Go rest. She left, door slamming shut. Alexander pressed stop on the recorder, his heart pounding. He called Miguel, lowering his voice. Miguel, I know Victoria pressured you. Tell me the truth, and I'll protect your family. There was silence, keys jingling. Mr. Hale, she threatened to fire me, said she'd get my wife fired from the hospital. I don't want. Alexander nodded. I understand. From now on, report to me, not her. That night, Maya called, her voice odd. Have you gone to Rainy Brew yet? Emily is waiting, even if she doesn't know it. Alexander laughed, his first genuine smile of the day. Girl, you're making me think you're a witch. Her words echoed like a final line. He would meet Emily at Rainy Brew. But would Victoria act on her scheme before he could find his daughter? The steady sound of Seattle rain tapped against the penthouse window, echoing Alexander Hale's pounding heart as he prepared to enter a dangerous game. Seated in the living room, his cane leaning on the sofa, Maya's pebble warming in his palm with its rough surface, a reminder of fragile hope. His breaths were heavy, his chest weighed down by Victoria's scheme, expediting the fake report to oust him from Hale Tech before he could find Emily. He was to meet Elena, but would Victoria act first? He thought of Miguel, the loyal driver under duress, and a faint smile crossed his lips. Now was the time to use him to turn the tide. Miguel stood at the door, car keys jingling in his hand. Mr. Hale, Ms. Victoria called, asking where you're going this morning. Miguel said, his voice trembling slightly, betraying anxiety. Alexander nodded, fingers clutching the pebble. Tell her I fell at the park, Miguel. Say I'm weak, need to rest, but don't mention Maya or Harlan. Miguel was silent for a moment, his breath heavy. I will, sir. But she threatened me, said if I don't report, my family will be in trouble. Alexander lightly touched Miguel's shoulder, feeling the coarse fabric of his coat. I know, and I'll protect you. Here's how we trick her. Let her think she's still in control, and then we strike. Miguel nodded, and the door closed with a thud as he left. Alexander smiled, but it was a bitter one. Victoria thought she was watching him through Miguel, but now Miguel was his weapon, passing false information to make her overconfident, speeding up the plot without suspicion. He called Harlan, his voice low. I need to see Elena immediately. And Maya, the girl is right. We need to act. That afternoon the rain eased, but the air in Seattle remained damp, secrets seeming to seep through the city. Harlan drove Alexander to Elena's office, a small downtown building, and the elevator dinged as they exited. After a knock, Elena's voice rang out, sharp as a blade. Mr. Hale, come in. Alexander stepped in, his cane tapping on the wooden floor, breathing in the mingled scent of old paper and coffee. Elena shook his hand, her grip firm, a promise of justice. Harlan told me everything, Elena said, her chair creaking as she sat down. Victoria, Hale Tech's CFO, your fiancée, is building a case for mental instability to strip you of management. She's transferring funds offshore, bribing board members and hiding Emily to disinherit her. Under Washington law, Emily, your daughter, retains rights to Hale Tech unless removed by the will. Victoria wants to control the assets after the marriage, so she's hiding her. Alexander inhaled deeply, the scent of coffee on Elena's desk reminding him of Emily at Rainy Brew. She's pushing it forward. I have a recording of her indirectly admitting to the fake report. Elena tapped her desk, a rhythm like strategic moves. Good. We'll file a countersuit. Accusations of manipulation and corporate fraud. I'll analyze the file Harlan sent. Prove the offshore transfers are illegal. But you'll need witnesses. Maya, the girl, can testify that Victoria was monitoring you through Miguel. Alexander gripped his cane, his knuckles turning white. Maya is my niece, Lillian's daughter. She hid Emily on a promise to Clara, my old lover, to protect her from the Hale Tech power struggle. My parents forced me to choose my career. Clara disappeared, and Lillian raised Emily as her own. Elena was quiet, the sound of paper rustling. Family drama. Lillian left because of the inheritance conflict. You cared for her but couldn't find her. Now Emily is independent, brewing coffee at Rainy Brew, and Maya, the eccentric girl, wanders freely, selling paintings in the community. We'll use that. Show Victoria is using this to disinherit Emily. Maya arrived at the office later, footsteps shuffling, backpack rustling. "Hello, Harlan." "Hi, Elena," she said, her voice strange, as if greeting an inner light. Elena smiled. "Girl, what do you sense about Victoria?" Maya sat, chair creaking. "She's dark, like clouds blocking inner light. I saw her threaten Miguel, forcing him to report the fall as evidence of mental instability." Alexander interjected. "I used Miguel to give her false information, saying I'm weak, making her confident enough to push her plan." Elena nodded, tapping her pen on the desk. "Perfect. She thinks she controls Miguel, but now he's the trap. We wait for her to act, then file, show manipulation, hiding Emily to eliminate her inheritance claim." Maya laughed strangely, her laughter like wind chimes. "I'll draw a plan to trick her. Darkness surrounded by light." Harlan scoffed but chuckled. "Girl, you're weird. But you're right. Victoria will fall into the trap." Alexander inhaled deeply, the scent of old paper and coffee like a promise of justice. Yet his mind whirled with thoughts of Lillian, his beloved sister, gone for 15 years because their parents forced the inheritance on him. Now she was gone, leaving Maya and Emily behind. He remembered Lillian singing lullabies, her voice gentle as the Seattle rain, and silent tears fell. Lillian protected Emily, keeping a promise to Clara, he whispered, his voice choked. Clara, my old love, vanished because of my family's pressure. Now Emily makes coffee not knowing I'm her father. Maya touched his hand, warmth spreading. Emily loves me, sends money for my paintings. She's strong, like you. Elena turned the pages, paper shuffling. We'll use Emily as a witness. Prove Victoria hid her to control the assets. Harlan has the offshore transfer file, and I'll link that to the board plot. Harlan nodded. She bribed a board member, talked about ousting you so she can be CEO after marriage. Alexander clenched the pebble, its roughness a reminder of hope. And Miguel, he'll tell her I'm weak, so she speeds up the fake report. Maya grinned, her voice quirky. I'll see her feelings. They'll go dark when she learns Miguel is loyal. Alexander laughed unexpectedly. Girl, you make me suspect you're a magical detective. Elena laughed too. The plan's set, but be careful. Victoria will strike back if she suspects anything. That night, Alexander received a call from Miguel, his voice low. I told her you had a bad fall, needed rest. She laughed, said it was good for the plan. Alexander nodded, though his chest was tense. Victoria was speeding up the plot, but now he had Elena, Harlan, Maya, and Miguel. Maya's words echoed like a closing line. Victoria would fall for the false information from Miguel. But would she find Emily before he could reunite with his daughter? The sound of keys jingled in Miguel's hand as he opened the car door. bringing with him the scent of gasoline mingled with the lingering dampness from the now subsided Seattle rain. Alexander Hale got out, his cane tapping rhythmically on the stone path leading into Rainy Brew, a small coffee shop tucked among lush green trees. His breaths were heavy, his chest tight as a strained guitar string, not because he was worried that Victoria would hasten her plot with the false report from Miguel's tip, but because Emily, his daughter, was right in front of him, making coffee, unaware her father was about to step into her life. He felt the light breeze brush against his face, carrying the warm aroma of freshly ground coffee, like an invitation from the past. Those mornings with Clara, her laughter once dispelling the Seattle chill. Miguel whispered beside him, "Here's the shop, sir. I'll wait in the car and I've already informed Ms. Victoria you're staying home, as planned." She laughed, said it's good for her report. Alexander nodded, fingers tightening around the pebble in his coat pocket, the rough surface a constant reminder of Maya and Lillian, his sister, who had sacrificed herself to protect Emily from the Hale Tech dispute. "Thank you, Miguel. Now your loyalty is with me, no longer with her." Miguel was silent for a moment, his breaths trembling, then he nodded and walked away. Alexander pushed open the shop door, the cheerful bell chiming, but he felt a stillness inside, as if the world was holding its breath, awaiting this moment of reunion. The shop's air was cozy, the quiet hum of the coffee grinder blending with the customers' whispers, the scent of fresh pastries wafting throughout, reminding him of the breakfasts Lillian used to make when he was little. He sat at a corner table, resting his cane against the chair, his trembling hand tracing the worn wooden surface, feeling the rugged grain beneath his fingers. A young woman's voice called from behind the counter, "Vanilla syrup latte for table 3. It was Emily, her voice gentle yet strong, like Lillian singing lullabies on rainy nights. Alexander inhaled deeply, the bitter aroma of coffee filling his lungs, and he called out, "A black latte, please." Soft footsteps approached. Then Emily set the cup down with a gentle clink as the spoon touched the porcelain. "Black latte for you. Would you like anything else?" Alexander tilted his head, trying to see her through sound, her steady breathing, the faint scent of soap drifting from her sleeve. "Thank you. Are you Emily? I've heard that you make great coffee." Emily paused, her tray rustling as she set it down. "Yes, I'm Emily. How do you know? Are you a regular?" He gave a faint, trembling smile, his hand warming around the cup, the heat seeping through his palm like comfort from the past. "No, but a girl named Maya told me about you." "Maya is your younger sister." Emily stiffened, her breath hitching as if a sudden wind had stopped blowing. "Maya? What did she say about me?" "She wanders a lot, but I worry for her. I send her money to buy drawing paper." Alexander felt his chest tighten, silent tears wetting his coat. "Maya is my niece, Lillian's daughter, my sister. And you, Emily, you're my daughter." The coffee cup clinked as Emily let go, her voice breaking. "Your daughter? Are you joking? Mother Lillian, whom I call Mom, said my father died in a car accident when I was young. Maya and I grew up together, as close as real sisters. I helped her when she chose to live freely, selling paintings at the community market. But my father, who are you?" Alexander reached for her, his trembling fingers touching Emily's hand, feeling the skin worn yet soft from days of making coffee. The trace of independence Lillian had taught her. The warmth from her hand spread, like a small flame banishing the bitter cold in his heart. "I am Alexander Hale, your father. Clara, your birth mother, entrusted you to Lillian to protect you from inheritance conflicts at Hale Tech. My family pushed me to choose my career. Clara disappeared, and I didn't know you existed. Lillian, my sister, raised you as her own, hiding you so you could have a normal life, away from family disputes. I loved her dearly, once hired a detective to find her for 15 years. but she changed her name, living in seclusion in Seattle. She's gone now, leaving behind Maya, my niece. And you, Emily, I'm sorry for not being there. Emily pulled her hand back, her chair creaking as she sat across from him, her voice choked. Mother Lillian told me about you. A brother who loved her, but was forced by the family. I grew up with Maya, sharing a bed and humble meals after Mother passed 3 years ago. I became independent, working here to send Maya money. She's eccentric, talks about her inner light, prefers wandering over staying home. But now, you're my father. Why should I believe this? I have my own life. I don't need inheritance rights or rich family drama. Her tears fell heavily onto the wooden table, her sobs echoing like raindrops outside. And Alexander felt his heart shattering, as if the wounds from Clara and Lillian were torn wide open again. He embraced her, feeling Emily's body trembling in his arms, her tears soaking his shoulder, the scent of soap from her hair mingling with coffee. A fragile but real connection. Emily, my daughter, I promise to make it up to you. Not with money or hail tech, but with time. Mornings making coffee together, listening to your stories about Maya, about the paintings she draws. I will protect you and Maya from Victoria, who is hiding you to remove your inheritance rights, pushing me out of the company with a false report. I was once blind to the light within, but Maya healed me. And now you are that light. Emily sobbed louder, her cries echoing in the quiet shop, but gradually softening, like rain turning to drizzle. I remember Mother Lillian telling us about you, singing us to sleep on rainy nights. I care for Maya as my real sister, worry about her unstable income from selling art. If you're my father, I want to try, but take it slow. Maya entered the shop just then, the doorbell chiming cheerfully, her voice odd and bright. Sister Emily, I brought the magic drawing for Alexander. Your light is like his, so bright. Emily laughed through tears, her soft giggle like rare sunshine, wiping her face. Maya, you've run off again, haven't you? I worry you're always wandering. Maya sat down, touching her sister's hand, warmth spreading. I don't roam aimlessly, sister. I'm free to see everyone's feelings, and I see Alexander is awkward. Make him another coffee with happy syrup. Alexander grinned unexpectedly, his smile dispelling the tension, hand resting on his cooling cup. Kiddo, I'm starting to think you add a little magic to Emily's coffee. But yes, would you make your dad another cup? Emily stood, the hum of the grinder rang out, and she soon brought a new cup, steam rising like a fresh promise. At that moment, Harlan called, his voice low over the phone. I have new evidence. Victoria's email bribing a board member with offshore funds. Elena is ready to file, but Victoria is suspicious of Miguel. She summoned him to check. Alexander nodded, heart racing, yet he looked at Emily and Maya. So close as sisters, Emily's fierce independence, Maya's eccentric but sincere nature. We'll win. And I promise, Emily, Maya, I'll make up for the lost years by building our family strong and true, just as Lillian wanted. Lillian. Leaving the cafe with a rush of emotions, Alexander returned to his penthouse to continue his pursuit of the truth, determined to protect his company as well as the only two blood relatives he had, Emily and Maya. The penthouse door creaked in the pitch-black hallway, but Alexander Hale sensed Victoria's presence even before she spoke. A heavy waft of Chanel perfume carried more tension than usual, as if burdened by repressed anger. He stepped in, his cane tapping rhythmically on the frigid marble floor, his breath steady yet weighted, his hand gripping the pebble in his pocket. The rough surface a warning from Maya. Victoria was already in the living room, her heels tapping a sharp beat, cold as the rain slapping against the glass outside, Seattle still drumming with wet sound. Miguel said you stayed home all day, but where did you go? Her voice rang out, sweetly artificial but razor-sharp, like a blade sheathed in silk. Alexander paused, his hand brushing the soft leather back of the sofa, feeling the cool fabric beneath his trembling fingers, struggling to remain calm within the storm. He gave a faint smile, one that never reached his voice. "You worry too much. I only took a stroll in the park, like always." Miguel must have been mistaken. Victoria stepped closer, her heels clicking more urgently, her breath shallow, like wind slipping through a crack in the door. "Mistaken. He worries you might fall badly again, that you need rest." "I agree, darling. The board meets this afternoon, and they're worried about your health after those recent incidents. I only want what's best for you, and for Hale Tech." His chest tightened, but the pebble warmed in his palm, a comforting memory of Lillian urging him to stay strong. Victoria was now doubting Miguel. She tried to hide it, but her voice betrayed the tension, like an old wooden floor creaking under pressure. "Worried for me or for yourself?" he asked, voice low, tapping his cane on the floor, each knock echoing like a nervous heartbeat. Victoria laughed softly, a dry sound like dead leaves rustling in the rain. "Are you kidding? This isn't a game. The board just wants you to rest, keep the company stable. I'm only protecting you." Yet Alexander clearly heard the false note in her voice. And he knew. She was accelerating the push to have the board question his health, using Miguel's dubious reports, before the truth could come out. "Protecting? Like when you have Miguel's spy on me?" he whispered. Victoria stiffened, her breath catching, but now she didn't laugh. "What are you saying? Miguel cares about you, as do I. But if you're hiding something, say it, before the board decides." The phone's sudden ring sliced through the tense silence, a lifeline's beat pounding within the onslaught of rain outside. Alexander picked up. Elena's urgent voice shot down the line. "We've filed for an emergency temporary restraining order, Alexander. The court accepted the request for an emergency injunction, with a preliminary hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning at District Court. They're fast-tracking it due to corporate fraud risk." Harlan found new evidence. An email from Gerald Thompson, the board's vice chair, confirming he received offshore money from Victoria to support the report. She suspects Miguel and is speeding up the board meeting, but will turn the tables in court. Alexander nodded, hand clasping the cold receiver, sensing its faint vibration. A promise of justice. Good. She's getting suspicious. "Did you hear that, Victoria?" he called out, and Victoria went rigid, her shoes stepping back, a gust of wind rustling through the curtains. "A court hearing? You dare to sue me?" Victoria's voice cracked, sharp and trembling, the rain lashing harder at the window in time with her anxious pulse. Alexander stood up, cane tapping firmly. "Not suing you. Protecting Hale Tech from what you're doing. Moving offshore funds, influencing the board to remove me. Did you think I didn't know?" Victoria was silent, breathing heavily, then whispered, "You misunderstand. I'm only worried about you, about the company. The board meeting is for protection, that's all." But Alexander sensed the lie, the eerie quiet before the storm, and he left. Miguel waiting by the door, the car engine humming, a summons to the courthouse. The following morning, the car rolled over rain-slick roads, the hiss of the tires melding with the downpour as Alexander made his way to District Court, a cold stone facade at Seattle's center. He entered the courtroom, cane tapping out a steady beat on gleaming marble, the whispers of attendees swirling like wind in the wide hall. Elena was waiting, hand on his shoulder. "Harlan's here. We start with confirming the board was bribed." The judge's gavel cracked, cutting through the hush. "Preliminary hearing for emergency injunction. Ms. Victoria Langston accuses Mr. Alexander Hale of mental instability, demanding he be removed from control of Hale Tech. Mr. Hale countersues for manipulation and corporate fraud." Victoria rose first, her high heels striking crisply, her voice sweet but sharp. "Your Honor, Alexander declined after the accident that left him blind. I have medical reports citing recent unstable behavior. To protect Hale Tech, the board should assign me temporary control. I am the CFO." Alexander felt blood rush to his head, his grip whitening on the cane, thinking of Emily, his daughter, strong and self-sufficient despite her different upbringing, not needing an inheritance but kept hidden by Victoria, who sought to claim everything. Elena cut in, the rustle of paperwork sharp. "This is deceit. We have proof of offshore transfers from Victoria to Gerald Thompson, the vice chair, to buy his support for a falsified report. Harlan Reeves will testify." Harlan took the stand, old leather shoes creaking, a whiff of tobacco floating into the quiet courtroom. "I investigate finances. Victoria wired $500,000 via a Cayman shell account to Gerald, along with this email. Accept this bonus in exchange for your support in ousting Alexander from leadership." This is clear manipulation. The courtroom buzzed with whispers swirling like the wind, and Victoria shot to her feet. "Lies. Harlan was fired. He's not credible. Gerald will show he saw Alexander's decline." Gerald Thompson stepped up, chair creaking under his weight, his voice trembling. "As vice chair, I confirm Alexander's decline. He can no longer lead, and Victoria acts solely for the company's benefit." But Elena cut him off, voice razor sharp. "Mr. Thompson, here's your email. I accept offshore money, but if exposed, I'll deny it. You were bribed to support this plot." Gerald fell silent, gulping audibly in the hush, his face pale and sweating. Though Alexander could not see it, he could feel the tension in the air, heavy as breath. The rain battered harder at the window, syncopated with anxious hearts, and Gerald bowed his head. "I admit it. Victoria promised a large reward to support the false report. She wants control of Hale Tech after marriage, excluding the inheritance rights of anyone else, even Emily, Mr. Hale's daughter whom she hid." The courtroom erupted in whispers, papers flapping at the judge's bench as Victoria stood up, voice breaking. "No, I just wanted to protect him from family troubles." But Harlan broke in, voice low. "I have a recording of Victoria calling her lawyer. Move quickly before Alexander finds Emily. She has inheritance rights. She kept Emily hidden to push her out of the dispute." The judge's gavel cut through the commotion. "This is persuasive evidence. We will consider vacating the report and investigate fraud, but we need more witnesses. Maya Bennett, Mr. Hale's niece, will testify regarding surveillance and threats." Alexander felt a profound silence, as if the world held its breath. Rain murmuring outside as the truth was unveiled. The traitorous board member exposed, but Victoria had not yet surrendered. Elena whispered beside him. "Gerald confessed, but she might try to use a letter of contrition as a last resort." Harlan nodded. "Maya is the next key. She can read her emotions." Alexander clutched the pebble, thinking of Maya, his eccentric, free-spirited niece, and Emily, his daughter, bonded to Maya like sisters. Victoria clenched her fists, her eyes flashing with resolve. She had sent a letter of regret to Elena, revealing deeper motives about Emily, a calculated move to reclaim her advantage before Maya could take the witness stand. The Seattle rain was still drumming steadily outside the courthouse window, like the pounding heartbeat of Alexander Hale as he sat in the courtroom, his cane tapping gently on the icy marble floor. His breath was heavy, his hand clenched tightly around the pebble in his coat pocket, its rough surface a reminder of Maya, his niece, who was about to take the witness stand, carrying her ability to see the inner light to expose Victoria's scheme. The atmosphere in the courtroom was tense, the whispers of the attendees echoing like wind through the halls, and the scent of old paperwork mixed with the dampness of the rain made his chest feel even heavier. Gerald Thompson had admitted to taking offshore money, but Victoria hadn't fallen yet. the regret letter she sent Elena last night, hinting at a deeper reason involving Emily, had the whole Alexander team on edge about a new trap. The judge banged the gavel, its sharp crack slicing through the stillness. "Call witness Maya Bennett to the stand." Maya's light footsteps sounded, whispering like dry leaves in a park, and as she sat down, her chair creaked. Alexander felt the warmth of her presence, like a small flame amid the cold rain. Maya's voice rang out, strange but sincere. "I don't just see inner light. I can hear the truth. I heard Victoria threaten Miguel near Gasworks Park, forcing him to lie about Mr. Alexander, that he fell, that he was unstable. But her lights were dark, as if she wanted to hide Emily to take over Hale Tech." The courtroom fell silent. Only the rain beating the window remained, its rhythm pounding like everyone's anxious hearts. Victoria shot up, her high heels clacking, her voice shrill. "This girl is a drifter, selling paintings at community markets, unstable income. She's not credible." But Maya replied calmly, like wind rustling through trees. "I wander to sense emotions, not for money. I saw you hiding Emily, because she holds the inheritance. You're scared she'll show up, so you forced Miguel to lie." Alexander's heart tightened, his hand squeezing the pebble harder, thinking of Emily, his daughter, making her own coffee at Rainy Brew, indifferent to the inheritance but targeted by Victoria for elimination. Elena stood, papers rustling in her hands. "Your Honor, we have a recording from Miguel confirming he was threatened by Victoria to create the false report." She played the recording. Victoria's voice echoed from the speaker, icy. "Say Alexander fell, or your family will be in trouble." The courtroom erupted in whispers, papers flipping quickly from the judge's table, and Victoria interjected, voice shaking. "That's fake. I was just worried about Alexander." But Harlan, standing next to Elena, his voice deep as stone. "We also have emails from your attorney, Carl, confirming you requested to expedite the report before Emily shows up. You've known Emily as Alexander's daughter for a long time." The judge struck the gavel, the crack cutting through the commotion. "Silence. We will review the recording and emails. Mrs. Langston, what is your defense?" Victoria was silent, her breath heavy like a repressed gust, and then she whispered, I only wanted to protect Hale Tech. Emily is a threat to the company because she knows nothing about it." Alexander felt the blood rush to his head, his knuckles white as he gripped the cane. "Emily doesn't need Hale Tech, but she's my daughter. You have no right to keep her hidden," he said loudly, his voice echoing in the quiet courtroom like thunder in the rain. Elena interjected, her tone sharp. "Your Honor, we request the false report be thrown out and an investigation into Mrs. Langston's board bribery. Her so-called letter of regret was just a ploy. She diverted attention to Emily without providing evidence." The judge nodded, pen scratching across the page. "A letter of regret is unconvincing. We will consider a temporary restraining order and investigate fraud." Victoria clenched her fists, her nails scratching her palm audibly, a sign that she was losing control. Then a new voice rang out from the courtroom door, quiet but resolute, cutting through the tension. "I want to testify." Alexander froze, recognizing the voice of Emily, his daughter, as she entered, her sneakers softly squeaking on the floor. She stood at the stand, the faint scent of soap on her jacket mixing with the rain's dampness. "I am Emily Hale. I work at Rainy Brew. I've been independent since Mom, Lillian, passed away. I don't want Hale Tech, but I know Victoria tried to hide me to cut me out of my father's family. I overheard her talking with Carl, her attorney at the cafe, saying Emily must not show up, she'll ruin the plan." The courtroom exploded in whispers, chairs creaked as everyone turned to look at Emily. Alexander felt tears well up, soaking into his jacket, like the silent rain outside. He wanted to stand and hug his daughter, but the cane shaking in his hand held him back. Maya chimed in, her voice odd but warm. Emily is telling the truth. Her inner light shines brightly, like Mom Lillian. Victoria doesn't have that light. Victoria jumped up, voice breaking. This girl and Emily, they don't understand Hale Tech. I'm just protecting the company. But the judge swung the gavel, the crack sounding like thunder. Enough! We will hear Ms. Emily's detailed testimony. Court is adjourned. Alexander felt a deep stillness, as if the world had stopped breathing. The rain outside the window softened, as if whispering that the truth was revealed. Elena whispered to him, "Emily showing up is the final blow. Victoria has nowhere left to run." Harlan nodded, the faint smell of tobacco in the air. But she might use her final move. Rumor is she's hired a new lawyer and is preparing forged documents about Lillian. Alexander squeezed the pebble, thinking of Maya, his niece with her special ability, and Emily, his daughter, as strong as Lillian, ready to face Victoria to protect their family. As the courtroom disbanded, footsteps echoed chaotically. Alexander heard Emily approach, her hand gently touching his shoulder, warmth spreading like a small fire. "Dad, I don't want drama, but I won't let her tear us apart." Maya chimed in, laughing oddly. "Emily, make coffee for the court. Add a shot of justice syrup." Alexander smiled softly, for the first time in days, his smile banishing Seattle's chill. But in the corner, Victoria stood silently, eyes flashing with steely resolve. She'd hired a new lawyer, preparing forged documents about Lillian, a final move to turn the tide at the next trial. The rain in Seattle continued to patter outside the courthouse window, echoing the racing heartbeat of Alexander Hale as he sat in the courtroom, his cane tapping quietly on the cold marble floor. His breaths were heavy, his hand gripping a pebble in his coat pocket, the rough surface a reminder of Maya, his granddaughter, who was about to take the witness stand, bringing with her the ability to see, inner light, and expose Victoria's scheme. The courtroom air was tense, the whispers of attendants echoing like wind through hallways, and the scent of old papers mingled with the moist rain, weighing even heavier on his chest. Gerald Thompson had admitted to taking offshore money, but Victoria had not yet crumbled. Her final move, a forged document about Lillian, was waiting to be revealed, set to tarnish his sister's name and render Maya and Emily's testimony worthless. The judge struck the gavel, the sharp sound slicing through the silence. "Call witness Maya Bennett to the stand." Maya's light footsteps sounded, rustling like dry leaves in a park, and she sat down, with a creak, from the chair. Alexander felt her warmth, like a small flame in the cold rain. Maya's voice rang out, strange but sincere. "I don't just see inner light. I can hear the truth. I heard Victoria threatening Miguel near Gasworks Park, forcing him to lie about Mr. Alexander. That he fell, that he was unstable. But her light, it's dark, hiding Emily so she could seize Hale Tech." The courtroom fell silent. Only the rain drumming the window remained, a rhythm as anxious as everyone's heartbeat. Victoria jumped up, her high heels clacking, her voice shrill. "This girl is a wanderer, selling paintings at the community market, no stable income. She's not trustworthy." But Maya replied, calm as a soft wind through the trees. "I wander to feel emotion, not to make money. I see you hiding Emily, because she holds inheritance rights. You're afraid of her showing up, so you forced Miguel to lie." Alexander's chest tightened. His hand squeezed the pebble harder, thinking of Emily, his daughter, making coffee at Rainy Brew, uninterested in inheritance but targeted by Victoria for removal. Elena stood up, rustling papers in her hands. "Your Honor, we have a recording from Miguel, confirming he was threatened by Victoria to fabricate a fake report." She played the recording. Victoria's voice came through the speaker, icy. "Say Alexander fell, or your family will be in trouble." The courtroom exploded in whispers, papers flipping quickly on the judge's table, and Victoria interjected, her voice trembling. "That's fake. I was only worried about Alexander." But Harlan, standing beside Elena, his voice deep as stone. "We also have emails from your lawyer, Carl, confirming you asked to speed up the report before Emily appears. You've known Emily as Alexander's daughter for a long time." The judge struck the gavel, breaking the commotion. "Order. We will review the recording and emails. Mrs. Langston, do you have a defense?" Victoria was silent, her breath heavy like a wind being held back. Then her new lawyer interjected, silky but venomous. "Your Honor, we have new documents regarding Lillian Bennett, Mr. Hale's sister. She hid Emily not to protect her, but out of selfishness, contesting Hale Tech's estate against her brother. Here's a handwritten letter from Lillian, proving she wanted Alexander removed from the family inheritance." The document was presented, pages rustling, and Alexander felt blood rush to his head, knuckles white as he gripped his cane. Victoria's final move, a forgery to slander Lillian and paint his sister as the villain. But Elena cut in, her voice sharp as a blade. "Your Honor, this is a forgery. Harlan has checked. The handwriting doesn't match the samples from real letters we have from Lillian." Harlan added in a deep voice, "I have a forensic report. This document was printed recently, not from 3 years ago when Lillian passed. This is a last-ditch effort to recover." After Gerald admitted taking offshore money, the courtroom erupted in whispers again, pages flipping on the judge's desk, and Victoria froze, her breath short and shallow like a suppressed wind, her face pale though Alexander couldn't see it. Yet he sensed the collapse in that sudden silence, like the calming of rain outside the window. The judge swung the gavel, the sound like thunder ending the storm. "Fake document! We dismiss the allegation of Mr. Hale's mental instability and revoke the fake report immediately. Mr. Alexander Hale regains full control of Hale Tech. Mrs. Victoria Langston will be investigated for corporate fraud, manipulation, and perjury. Court is adjourned." The courtroom erupted with applause, chairs creaking as people stood, and Alexander felt his chest grow light, tears quietly soaking his coat, like rain washing away the darkness. He had won. Hale Tech was his again. Victoria's scheme collapsed, and Emily and Maya were now safe, no longer hidden or threatened. Leaving the courthouse, the rain drummed on the car roof as it rolled away. Alexander sat beside Emily and Maya, feeling the warmth from the two girls, Emily reaching for his hand, Maya giggling. "Dad, we did it," Emily whispered, her voice choked but strong. Maya jumped in, oddly cheerful. "You won because you listened to my inner light. Now I demand my prize, a cup of coffee made by Emily, with extra magic syrup." Alexander chuckled softly, his smile dispelling Seattle's chill, his hand holding both girls. "We'll have more coffee than that. But first, I need to act fast, strip Victoria of all authority at Hale Tech." Back at the penthouse, the door clicked open. Alexander immediately called the board, his voice calm but firm. "I'm reclaiming the CEO position. Victoria is removed as CFO and stripped of all associated rights, effective immediately. She no longer has entry or decision-making privileges in the company." The board quickly agreed, confirming whispers sounding through the speaker, and Alexander felt the breeze from the open window, carrying the fresh scent of rain, as if cleansing the last traces of the scheme. Victoria stood silently in the corner, breathing heavily before whispering, "You win. I'll go." She packed quickly, suitcase wheels rolling on the floor, and left the penthouse, the door slamming shut like ending a dark chapter. Alexander exhaled, sinking onto the soft leather sofa, feeling the cool fabric beneath his hand, thinking of the Inner Sight Fund, not just charity for overlooked talented children like Maya, but a way to make amends to Emily and Maya, building a future from the scars of the past. Emily sat beside him, her gentle voice. "I'll help you with the fund, starting with coffee at Rainy Brew for community kids. Maya laughed. "I'll paint their inner light." Alexander nodded, tears rolling down his cheeks. But now tears of happiness, like rain nourishing a newly sprouted family garden. Yet within the fresh air, Alexander felt a warm stillness, a whisper from Lillian. The Inner Sight Fund would officially be born, carrying hope for the future, where Emily and Maya would build wonders with him, greater than even today's victory. The gentle hum of the coffee grinder echoed in Rainy Brew, blending with the warm aroma of freshly roasted coffee and Maya's bright laughter, like rare sunshine breaking through Seattle's persistent rain outside the window. Alexander Hale sat at his familiar corner table, cane resting against the chair, his hand tracing the worn wooden surface, feeling the rough grain like the hardships he'd weathered. Today, there was no shadow of Victoria or the inheritance conspiracy. Only the warmth of Emily, his daughter, making coffee behind the counter, and Maya, his niece, sitting across from him. The faint scent of acrylic paint drifted from Maya's jacket, a reminder of her paintings filled with inner light. The cafe was lively, the bell above the door chiming every time a new customer entered, bringing fresh hope for the Inner Sight Fund Alexander had just launched. Maya tapped her pencil on the table, the cheerful tapping punctuating her words. "Alex, I think the fund should have a free drawing corner at Rainy Brew. Poor kids can come. I'll teach them to paint inner light, just like I see in Emily." She tilted her head, messy hair cascading, her quirky voice full of energy. Alexander smiled, his gentle grin easing Seattle's chill, his fingers wrapped around a hot latte, warmth radiating through his palm. "Great idea, Maya. But you have to promise not to draw on the cafe walls again. Emily will throw us both out." Emily called from behind the counter, joking. "That's right, Maya. Last time you drew magic on a paper cup, customers thought we sold charms." The three burst into laughter, their voices ringing out in a fresh, lively harmony. Alexander took a deep breath, the bitterness of coffee blending with the smell of fresh pastries from the oven, reminding him of breakfasts Lillian used to make when he was a boy. Now he wasn't just the CEO of Hale Tech. He was a father reclaimed by family, determined to make amends to Emily and Maya, two strong, independent young women with the heart of Lillian. "Emily, what do you think about starting a free barista class for community kids, using funds from the Inner Sight Fund, so they can learn a trade, just like you did?" Emily paused, the spoon clinking gently as she set it down, her voice tender but resolute. "I love it, Dad. I grew up with Mom Lillian, was independent from a young age, so I know. Even a small skill can change a whole life. But," she grinned mischievously, "you have to join the first class and make coffee like me. No spilling allowed." Maya clapped, her giggle tinkling like wind chimes. "Alex making coffee? Emily, get the mop ready. I see his inner light is really clumsy." Alexander laughed, genuinely for the first time in so long, free from courtrooms and Hale Tech burdens. "Girls, don't gang up on me." "Still, all right. The class starts, and I'll be the first student." "Maya, you're in charge of the art class, but you've got to have artwork hanging at the fund's exhibition, so everyone can see your talent." The doorbell chimed, and a group of neighborhood kids came in, little shoes thumping across the wooden floor, carrying the scent of damp raincoats. Emily waved, her voice warm. "Come on over, kids. We've got free coffee and fresh pastries. And today, Maya's teaching us to paint." Maya jumped up, pulling out a chair, its cheerful scraping joining her voice. "Come here. I'll teach you to paint your inner light. It doesn't have to be pretty, just real." Alexander soaked in the lively energy, the children's laughter, colored pencils rolling across the table, and the smell of coffee filling the air. A vivid painting he didn't need eyes to see. He touched the pebble in his pocket, its rough surface now a reminder of the future. Not a painful past, but what he was building with Emily and Maya. Emily came to sit beside him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder, warmth radiating through him. "Dad, I'm still not used to calling you that, but I'm happy you're here. Maya and I, we don't need hail tech or money. We just want days like this." Alexander felt tears pricking his eyes, soaking into his jacket, but he smiled. "My girl, me too. I promise I'll be here. Not just for the fund, but for your coffee, Maya's paintings, and even the times I spill lattes." Maya cut in, her quirky voice teasing. "Alex, I see your inner light's gotten brighter, but I bet you'll spill coffee again next week. I'd better start on a latte disaster painting." Emily burst out laughing, her laughter ringing like bells, and Alexander shook his head, pretending to sigh. "You two are gonna bankrupt me." "Fine, Maya. If I spill, you can draw it, but you have to hang it in the cafe for our customers to laugh at." The shop filled with lively noise again. Kids calling out, Emily teaching coffee making, Maya showing them how to paint circles of light. As dusk fell, warm yellow light from rainy brew spilled onto the damp street, blending with the soft whisper of rain. Alexander stood up, his cane tapping softly, feeling the breeze carrying the aroma of coffee and the breath of his new family. The Inner Sight Fund would be more than a legacy of Hail Tech. It was a bridge for Emily, Maya, and struggling kids everywhere, so they could discover their own light. But in this peaceful moment, the phone rang, slicing through the air. Harlan called, voice low. "Alexander, I found an old mailbox from Lillian, addressed to Maya. There's something about Emily. Something never revealed." Alexander tightened his grip on the pebble, its roughness a whisper from Lillian, opening a new chapter for his family. Thank you for joining Alexander, Emily, and Maya's story through Seattle's rainy days. Follow True Millionaire Moments channel to explore more warm journeys where inner light always finds its way. Don't forget to leave a comment, share your feelings, and hit subscribe so you don't miss any new stories. The warm yellow light from rainy brew still shone out into the Seattle night, mingling with the gentle drizzling rain, like autumn's tender whisper. Alexander Hale sat at his familiar corner table, his cane propped against the chair, hand wrapped around the latte Emily had just made. The steam spread through his palm, bringing the aroma of roasted coffee beans and a touch of vanilla sweetness. The magic syrup, as Maya called it. The cafe was bustling yet cozy. The bell on the door jingled as customers came and went, blending with children's laughter from the art corner where Maya was teaching. The scent of acrylic paint wafted, marking the presence of inner light paintings. Today was the official launch of the Inner Sight Fund, and Alexander felt the warmth of family. Emily, Maya, and memories of Lillian and Clara, two women who had shaped his heart. Harlan entered, his old leather shoes clicking on the wooden floor, carrying a faint scent of tobacco and a small, worn wooden box, which he set gently on the table. "Alexander." Harlan's voice was low but warm. "This mailbox is from Lillian, for Maya before she passed. I found it in the old archives. There's a letter about Emily, and something about Clara, Emily's mother." Alexander clutched the pebble in his coat pocket, the rough surface a reminder of his sister Lillian and Clara, the wife who had sacrificed and protected Emily through harsh times. His heart pounded, feeling as if both Lillian and Clara were there, whispering through the rain outside the window. Emily and Maya paused, the spoon clinking softly as Emily set it down at the counter, and Maya's colored pencils rolled as she ran over, hair tousled, voice curious. "A box from Mom Lillian? Is there Clara's inner light in there?" Harlan opened the box, the hinges creaking, and pulled out a letter. The paper yellowed, but Lillian's handwriting still clear and gentle. He read aloud, his low voice sounding through the cafe's quiet hush. "Maya, my love, I'm writing this when you are still small. So one day you and Emily will understand. Emily is the daughter of Alexander and Clara, the light both Clara and I wish to protect. Clara sacrificed everything, left Hale Tech to keep Emily safe from inheritance disputes. I hid Emily, not out of selfishness, but because of a promise to Clara. But I was wrong. Emily is stronger than either Clara or I thought, and Alexander, my little brother, will be a wonderful father. Inside this box is a gift for both of you. A sketchbook I drew in, and a small locket from Clara, so you will remember her light is always here. Ah, tears welled in Alexander's eyes and soaked into his coat, like the quiet rain outside. The letter not only connected him to Lillian, but also revived Clara, the woman he loved, who had sacrificed to protect their daughter. Maya opened the sketchbook, pages rustling, and exclaimed, "Emily, Mom, Lillian drew your inner light, like a latte. And look, there's Clara too, a red circle, like love." Emily took the small locket from the box, a simple silver pendant with a photo of young Clara inside, hair pinned up, her smile gentle. Her voice trembled. "Mom, Clara, you kept me safe and Mom Lillian helped me find my dad. I feel both of you in every cup of coffee I make." Alexander couldn't see, but he touched the locket, his fingers tracing the smooth surface, as though reaching back to memories of Clara and Lillian, two women whose sacrifices led him, Emily, and Maya to this day. "Clara and Lillian," he whispered, voice shaking. "You two always knew how to guide us." Emily sat beside him, voice soft. "Dad, I used to think I only had Mom Clara and Mom Lillian in my memories. But now I have you, Maya, and the Inner Sight Fund. I want to expand Rainy Brew, make it a place where poor children can learn, paint, and find their own light, just like Mom Clara taught me to be independent." Maya clapped joyfully. "I'll teach art. And Emily, you need to add a Clara's Light Latte to the menu. I'll design the cup with a red circle." Alexander laughed heartily, his laughter melting away Seattle's chill. "You too, if my coffee's ever bad, you'll paint latte disasters, won't you?" "But I agree. Rainy Brew will be the heart of the fund, and you girls its soul, carrying the light of Clara and Lillian." The doorbell jingled, and a group of neighborhood kids came in, small shoes squeaking, bringing the scent of damp raincoats and bright laughter. Emily waved. "Come on over, kids. Today I'll teach you how to make lattes, Maya I'll teach art, and Dad Alexander will try not to spill his coffee." Maya giggled. "Bet you spill in under 5 minutes." The guests burst out laughing, the atmosphere as warm as the yellow light spilling into the rain. Alexander stood, his cane tapping the floor, feeling the lively space, children calling to each other, the aroma of coffee spreading, and the warmth from Emily and Maya, like the flames Clara and Lillian had left behind. That evening, the Inner Sight Fund officially launched, with an art exhibition by Maya and the community kids, displayed all around Rainy Brew. The paintings were vibrant, full of colored circles like inner light, and a special corner displayed photos of Clara and Lillian, two women memorialized by a plaque reading, "For Clara and Lillian, the guiding flames." Applause rang out as Alexander spoke, voice deep yet strong. "This fund is not just charity, but how we, I, Emily and Maya, bring the light of Clara and Lillian to those overlooked. Hale Tech will sponsor it, but Rainy Brew is where it starts, from every cup of coffee and painting." The guests cheered, cups clinking, and Maya piped up in her quirky voice. "Anyone who drinks Clara's Light Latte, remember to leave a 5-star review for Mom and Grandma." As night fell, Alexander lingered at his corner table, hand touching Clara's locket and Lillian's sketchbook, feeling warmth from the two women who led his family. Emily and Maya sat beside him, their laughter mingling with the soft rain outside the window. "Dad," Emily whispered, I feel like Mom Clara and Mom Lillian are laughing somewhere, because we found each other. Maya nodded. Grandma Clara and Mom are in our light. I can see it. Alexander smiled, tears of happiness streaming down. You're right. And from now on, we'll brighten this world together, for Clara and Lillian. Rainy Brew closed late. The yellow lights flickered off, but the warmth of family continued to spread, like a flame that would never go out. Alexander squeezed the pebble in his palm, its rough surface now a memory of happiness, and knew that Clara and Lillian, through the letter, locket, sketchbook, and these two girls, had led them to a happy ending, where their inner light would always shine. Thank you for joining Alexander, Emily, and Maya's story through Seattle's rainy days. Follow True Millionaire Moments channel to explore more warm journeys where inner light always finds its way. Don't forget to leave a comment, share your feelings, and hit subscribe so you don't miss any new stories.